Hi guys, Taylor Hunt, Ashtanga Yoga Columbus. I'm here today to talk about authorization and also certification. So a lot of times in the Ashtanga tradition, like these two words are kind of thrown around kind of lightly. And I wanted to give a little bit of analogy because some of the newer people are like, what does that even mean? Like, should that matter to me? Should it not matter to me? And really that's up to you to decide. But so nowadays, like a couple things are happening. One is that there's a bunch of teacher trainings. And so typically teacher trainings are like 200 or 500 hours. And so that particular individual has like devoted 500 hours to learning how to teach. And I think that's a great like stepping stone. But to put like that in comparison to what is actually happening in Ashtanga is that a level 1 training for or a level 1 authorization or level 2 authorization teacher typically spends anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 hours on their mat practicing teaching and then also like understanding our tradition. And so the difference between someone who has spent 500 hours and someone who has spent 5,000 hours or 10,000 hours goes from a place of really not necessarily being a rookie, but someone who is newer into the game to someone who is actually a master at it. And so a lot of times, we see, teachers jump in right away and start to teach, and that's a good thing. I'm not here to debate that. What I'm here to tell you about is really the authorization, like what it takes in order to be that authorized level 1 or level 2. And for me, for example, it took 3 trips of staying in India for longer than 3 months apiece. And I was devoted to my practice for every bit of 10 years or 8 years before I really started to like dive in and teach this tradition and understand like what was actually happening. And so, level 1, you could say like, oh, maybe it's like 5,000 or 10,000 hours that they've devoted, and maybe that's 10 years, or maybe that's 15 years. Who knows? Who knows what it takes? But also the level of commitment that comes from like the student. So to be a level 1 teacher or level 2 teacher, you have to make trips back and forth to India. You have to stay there for an extended period of times. And it's also not something that is just freely given. You can't really ask for it. You kind of earn it. And maybe this is the wrong terms, but blood, sweat, and tears. So I think that there's like this understanding that it takes every bit of commitment in order for you to get level 1 or level 2 authorization. I've seen people like myself get it on their 3rd trip, and then I've seen people like wait until their 6th or 7th trip before they actually get authorized. And so I was teaching a workshop just a couple weeks ago, and someone asked this question. A couple of my students have been asking, and they were like, "Well, like what is level 1? What does it signify?" And it means that you can teach the primary series. And so like you could say that, and maybe this is the wrong analogy too, but it's kind of like having a bachelor's degree in yoga. And then maybe level 2 is something like a master's degree. And then also certification would be something like a doctorate, a PhD. And so not that there's really defined terms, but for our Western mind, like for some reason that made it click for those people in front of us. Not that level 1 is more better or level 2 is better or any of them are better than others. The person who has that has a huge amount of commitment, and that should be noted for sure. So hopefully that helps you understand the Ashtanga tradition, gives you a little bit of comparison between 500 hour and like where level 1 and level 2 teachers are. So hopefully you got something out of that. Thanks for joining us. Namaste.